Hi, volleyball fans, and welcome back to Volley Talk, the podcast created for volleyball lovers who want to dig deep into what is going on in NCAA and international volleyball. I'm your host, Sarah Pavin. I'm an Olympian, beach volleyball world champion, former Nebraska Cornhusker, and longtime pro, both indoor and on the beach.
And I'm Adam Schultz, former indoor player, international volleyball coach, and the show's resident stat guy.
Men's World Championships are officially over,
Wild.
and Italy has won their second consecutive title.
More apologies, more broken brackets, more excellent volleyball.
That's the most important thing. I mean, I wasn't going to say it. Yes, I was. Adam's predictions couldn't have gotten worse from last week, but
they did.
We're still struggling. So a lot of matches happened this week, but we're going to break down the semis, medal matches, and share our thoughts because wowee. It was excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. So here we go. Let's get started. All right, not a ton on the weekly highlight front. We didn't see much movement in the NCAA rankings. Everybody was kind of hovering around where they were the previous week, but Miami entered the chat. They entered the top 25 after being unranked. As I said, generally speaking, people were hovering around their ranking from the week before. Not a ton as conference play started to talk about. You know, we have wrapped up international season this week with World Championships. It was a really big summer for the international side of things. So we're going to touch on some of the noteworthy results, just give a quick rundown for this week, and then we're going to transition into more NCAA focus with some of the pro volleyball mixed in once they start their regular seasons. That is coming next week, but here's a bit of the rundown of the noteworthy results.
Also, by popular demand, we're going to try and have Paul Pavin back on the episode next week. A dial in from Ontario.
Get ready. We're getting serious here at Volley Talk. Okay, so buckle up. But Pitt beat SMU in both of their matchups. First of them in 5, then they beat them in 4. Unranked Colorado had a great week. They beat BYU and Utah.
We didn't watch those games, but now all of a sudden I'm curious. I want to see Colorado play. I want to know what's going on with them. I want to know how they beat them.
I wonder if they played at home because let me tell you, back in the day, I was in the Big 12 with Colorado and I hated playing there.
Wasn't that one of your 4 regular season losses over your career?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I will talk about it. The year we won the championship, that is the only match we lost all season to Colorado. Okay, they played with a Nike ball back then, which those balls were wild to try to play with, let me tell you. Plus at altitude, recipe for disaster for the corn girls. Anyway, they had a great week. So I'm wondering if they played in Colorado because that can mess some people up. Utah had a really bad week. They lost to Colorado, as I said, and to Iowa State. So, not the best. Going back to Pitt, we did watch a bit of the first Pitt SMU match.
They're finding their form again.
They are finding their form. That's right. Their Dutch freshman left side is coming into her own. Yep. She is settling in.
The setter
has a very consistent serve, too.
Yeah, they're going to be just fine.
And Bayless. She came in off the bench a bunch last year. She is stepping into that starting role really well. So we are seeing Pitt kind of gain their footing. As we said last week, they're climbing the ranks after a tough week 1. But that was a decent match to watch. Mississippi State beat Florida in 5.
Didn't see that coming.
Not great.
The wheels are not falling off, but they're a little loose in Florida.
They need some tightening.
Yeah, I haven't liked how messy their play has been.
I liked them for a while.
I did too. It seems as if they are, balls dropping, small execution errors. It's not as tight as it seemed in the beginning of the season, and I don't have an explanation for that. They're giving up points in the matches that I've watched that they shouldn't be from just mistakes.
We didn't see this match, by the way.
No, but in general, the last couple matches that I've watched them, it hasn't looked clean.
Not a great start to SEC play, regardless. Our girls at TCU They had a tough start to Big 12 play. They lost to Baylor in 5. Not sure what that's going to do to their ranking.
Yeah, well, it's not going to help.
It's not going to help them, no.
I feel like we can't talk about mid-major ranked teams because every time we do, they lose the next match.
But they're top 10. Would you consider that mid-major? I mean, TCU is a mid-major. I wouldn't consider it.
Yeah, I guess when I say mid-major, I don't mean it in the like school sense. I mean it of like in the ranking. They're not a
They're top 10. They're ranked 9th.
Yeah, that's fine. They're ranked 9th, but they're not a legitimate contender. They're not in the top teams. Like when I say mid-major, I mean the group in the middle, the messy middle of teams who can win on any given night.
Who are very good, but,
yes,
but for all intents and purposes aren't going to win the title.
Correct. TCU is probably not
going to. So who do you have not as a mid-major? Like who do you have as legit contender?
Texas, Nebraska, Kentucky.
Stanford. I would put Stanford on that list.
Stanford.
They are tightening up.
No,
considering how young of a team they are, they have tightened those screws fast.
I have 1A teams and then 1B teams and then mid-majors is how I would break it up. I would go Nebraska, Texas, Kentucky.
Pitt? Would you have Pitt on that list? Would you have Stanford on that list?
I would put Pitt on that list. So I would say those 4.
What about Louisville?
So I would say Louisville, Stanford, Wisconsin, and then maybe give a shout out to Arizona State, SMU, and Texas A&M. Those teams are kind of in the mix. Now, they're not all necessarily clean, but they all have big players who can score, who could step up.
Basically you think one of 4 teams is going to win.
I do. So it's 4 teams, and then everybody else could have a great night. They're all skilled, but maybe don't have that marquee player. If they're playing well, they could make the final 8. That's kind of how I see it.
Adam is just throwing darts at the wall here, everybody. He's like, you know what? Completely messed up these predictions for men's world championships. I'm going to keep throwing predictions out and something is going to stick.
I will say in fairness, my women's world bracket was very good.
It was very good.
Anyway, that's how I see it.
Okay. We had Illinois beat Purdue in 4. Yikes. I thought Purdue was going to be in real rough shape after literally everybody left. And then they had a solid ranking only to start Big Ten play by losing to Illinois.
Yeah, not the best.
Not the best. You know what else isn't the best? Penn State lost to UCLA in 4.
That Penn State, it's not good there.
Not good.
I have no feeling on that team because you just don't know how bad the tire fire is going to be. Like, what does losing your best player do to morale?
Not to mention they're like in the most important role.
Right. That's what I mean.
Best player in the key role.
That you don't recover from that. You run your offense a specific way. She's the marquee player. How does the team respond? That's a gut punch right at the beginning. And I don't know enough about the mentality, the program to say, like, are they going to bounce back? Are they going to be okay? If it had happened to anybody else, you'd be like, they're going to be fine. But that's the one player that just torches the program when they leave.
So in the top 10, everybody took care of business except TCU and Purdue. Arizona State, they were 8. They beat Kansas. So top 10, pretty straightforward. It is the mid-major and lower, as Adam would refer, ranked teams that kind of struggled a bit or had the surprises happen. Yeah, we will pick up with NCAA more in depth next week. As I said, because international season is over and, you know, people are going to be settling in to their conference play. So stay tuned if you're an NCAA fan for more coverage of that next week. That is all I had for the highlights. Did you have anything?
No, that was it. Let's get into World Champs.
Let's do it. Here we go.
So we're going to focus on the semis and finals, but I wanted to recap the quarters and just give some thoughts and talk about those matches. So, you know, first we had Italy and Belgium. Italy rolled in this match. Belgium, I mean, good for them. They've had a really good summer.
But the Belgium pushed them in pool play, did they not?
Yeah, they did.
So Italy was like, time to right the ship.
Italy came to play in the playoffs. They beat them 25-13, 25-18, 25-18. We're not going to strain ourselves. We're going to come out. We're going to play really clean. They outblocked them 6-1. They out-aced them 8-1. 26 opponent errors for Italy versus 10 for Belgium. And, I mean, the key to Belgium's success was Reger's playing really well, and they held him to hitting 200 on the night. They walked through that match. Like I said, Belgium qualified for VNL. They had a really good showing. They beat some good teams. They made it to the quarterfinals. They're just outclassed. So,
But we would have been absolutely floored if Italy had lost that match.
Exactly. So it's a good. You probably wanted to see Belgium play a little bit better in that match, make it a little bit closer. But Italy was on a mission, and Belgium has to be happy with their summer. Poland, Turkey. Poland also rolled Turkey, similar to the Italy-Belgium match. So Poland won 25-15, 25-22, 25-19. A little bit closer, a little more respectable than the other one. But Poland outblocked them 7-2, outserved them 6-1. The brothers played decent, but Poland's just too strong of a team overall. They have too many pieces, and Turkey, like I said, I think they did well. Somebody told me they got a new coach after VNL. I appreciate that piece of information. I personally think their transformation from VNL to Worlds was out of this world. It was
insane.
I mean, they were a different team.
Yes.
Which goes to show
with the same roster.
100%. The coach makes a difference, whether that's in belief, whether that's in systems, whether that's just in style of play.
Maybe they just needed the whole team just needed a deep breath of fresh air.
I mean, kudos to Turkey. You're not going to beat Poland. You're not there yet. But they had a really good tournament. Impressive tournament for Turkey. I thought they had some really good matches. The two brothers, I thought, were so much fun to watch on the pins and played really, really well. So I was happy and I enjoyed watching them play. They're a fiery team. And then to roll through the last two quarterfinals, Czechia beat Iran, and before you jump down my throat, I understand I picked Serbia to beat Iran. That didn't happen. I figured the winner of the Iran-Serbia match would win. Man, Czech looked good. So that match went 4. Czech lost the first set 22-25, and then they squeaked out a win 27-25, 25-20, 25-21. It was a really fun match to watch. They were hitting the snot out of that ball in that match. Iran is also a fiery team. Them and Turkey are fun to watch. Their players play with so much emotion, you can't help but get into the game. The stats are really close. You had 7 blocks for Czechs, 5 for Iran, 5 service aces for Czech, 7 for Iran. Opponent errors were 31 for Czech, 25 for Iran. So the match was really close, but the difference was Czech had a few players who went off in this tournament. Indra, the opposite, hit 586 in that match, and he played well all the way through the tournament. He was spectacular. Visma, the outside hitter, hit 548. So they had 2 hitters hitting over 500, and their middle climbs, the 19-year-old, I loved watching him play.
I think it's Klimish.
Klimish. Okay, again, my
That's
pronunciation.
probably something in between both of those.
Yeah.
But.
Anyway, he was spectacular. There were a couple players for Iran who played well. Poria hit 358 on the match, which is pretty good, but it's not 500.
It's not 600 or whatever Indra hit.
I think the biggest factor was I didn't think Morteza had his best match, and they need him to play well. He's the linchpin of that team, in my opinion, when you watch them play.
I like their right side.
Yeah, I mean, he played well, but not as well as Indra.
And he gets fired up. Like, if he scores a point, run away if you're his teammate because your hand is about to get a blood blister. Okay.
I think everybody when he scores
or
kind
broken
of looks
blood
away.
vessel.
Yeah. I was shocked by that because I thought Iran was going to win that one. And our last quarterfinal was Bulgaria USA, which I also got wrong.
Add it to the list.
But that
I will have it known that I picked Bulgaria, but can we rewind to last week? I did pick them.
That's true. But that match was spectacular. They battled back and forth, reverse sweep.
You know we love a reverse sweep every now and then.
And, I watched those first 2 sets and I thought, man, U.S. is going to do this. And they're inexperienced at best and they just couldn't close it out. Nikolov struggled in the first 2 sets. Alex struggled in the first 2 sets. And then he was unconscious and continued
for the rest of the tournament.
It was wild. But this game was on a knife's edge. If we look at the stats, 6 blocks for USA, 7 for Bulgaria, 5 service aces to 7, 34 errors, opponent errors for USA compared to 30. It was wildly close, and the US could have pulled that out, and they're going to gain a ton of experience from this for their players. And I think Karch, listening to him, was pretty happy. I mean, obviously you want to win, and that match was there, but they showed up and they competed in this tournament.
I think we may have mentioned it last week. The U.S. added a couple pieces, in their attacking positions that were different than VNL, but like by and large, their VNL guys were the ones who played Worlds, except for Micah Christensen. And I will say, if I didn't say it last week, I'm saying it now. And if I said it last week, I'm going to shout it out again. Micah Christensen is amazing.
Wow.
He is a difference maker.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. got so much better with him on the court. He is so good. And I asked Adam, because we had this question come up several weeks ago, like during VNL, and who is the best setter for men? And at the time we were debating between Janelli and Brizard. So I asked Adam, do you think Christensen, A, enters the conversation with those two, and B, do you think is better than Janelli, who we had decided was the best setter? Yes, for sure enters the conversation, but what do you think?
It's so hard because Janelli has pieces to use that Micah doesn't. And he's a better athlete, overall volleyball player than Micah in terms of his physical stature, his serve, his block, those kind of things. From a purely setting and decision-making standpoint, it would be very, very close. Micah's decision-making, I think, is incredible. His ability to see and run the middle or the pipe based on who bites and isolate hitters. I mean, he made his hitters look godly out there. And that was...
And they weren't in VNL.
No. He's incredibly good. And I think on any given night, he could outduel anybody else.
So there's that. But anyway.
Bulgaria is also very young. I think they're more physical than the U.S., specifically on the outside. The U.S. is pretty physical in the middle. They also have a good opposite. But on the pin outside, the U.S.'s outside hitters just aren't nearly as physical. And I think that played a role in the loss there. I like where they're going. You can see the shape, what they want to do, Karch's vision for this team, given the personnel. I think Cooper Robinson is going to add some size onto their pin once he gets going, gets comfortable with this level of play. I think they're further along than the women in their goal for a medal at the Olympics. They were fun to watch.
Let's move on to the semifinals. Okay, semifinal 1 saw Bulgaria versus the Czech Republic.
Do you want to go initial thoughts first and then go from there, or what? Yeah. How do you want to do it?
Let's just say what we're feeling.
Okay.
I'll start. I think Czech played really well. I think they should be very, very proud of the match that they put on the floor. They played very good volleyball. I like watching the match. I couldn't pinpoint something as like, this is a huge red flag. Like this is costing them so many points. I really think that it was a solid team effort. They played really well. Unfortunately for them, Bulgaria was in the same position, did the same thing with just like more physical athletes. And so that was the difference for me. Alex Nikolov was literally unstoppable.
Otherworldly.
It's insane.
I had a very similar instinct watching that match. I thought Czechia was the more technical team. They looked like they were in more control on the other side of the net in terms of how they were forming their blocks, how they were playing defense, what they were doing. It looked
like pure volleyball.
Yes. And they
clean.
100%. And
which I love.
Czech plays a style where they don't give you anything. They force you to earn your points. If you look at the stats, they only made 22 errors in that whole match, and that includes serving errors. Mm-hmm. So they're not making hitting errors. They're not giving you any points. Bulgaria was just better. But it's not. But they weren't better volleyball players.
It was like bang bang better.
Yeah.
You know, like when the plays get weird and when things go kind of sideways, they did the like bang bang find a way stuff better. Whereas Czech was just, as I said, good volleyball. It was pretty volleyball. You know.
I totally agree. If you watch that match, it looks. I don't want to say skilled versus unskilled because that's not fair to Bulgaria. But you watch Bulgaria play defense, and they are clearly in the right position, but they get hit with a lot of balls. They don't control a lot of their digs.
But I also respect that.
It's a gritty mentality.
Yes.
They stand
It is
in
like
there.
blue collar. It is blue collar volleyball.
But how many times did we watch the opposite get hit in the shoulder with a ball that's going down to the floor? The libero thumb digs
Harry sides it up.
barely above the height of the net, and
Somebody punches it.
Nikolov comes over and just spatches it to the back corner.
The number of balls that Nikolov hit that I don't think they just like yossed him up there, and everybody knows like if it's kind of wacky, just vacate the premises and like Alex will just hit it no matter where he is.
And
There were a lot of those.
they all go in his favor.
All of them.
It's incredible to watch. You think he's in the doghouse on this shot, and it rattles between 4 elbows and dribbles down the net. And I'm not saying, listen, he's
very
super
good.
skilled. He's got incredible vision, and
he's fearless.
He is. He earns his luck. But sometimes you watch the wild things that he tries to pull off, and kudos to him for having the cojones to do it. But it works
He had
out
no business scoring that
in his
ball.
favor. And one of the differences in this match was just that fearlessness to play. Like, I thought Bulgaria was on the attack all night, and Czech was always playing defense. Very rarely did I feel like Czech was the aggressor in that match. And over a course of a game, that wears on you. I also think Bulgaria's serving came through clutch in moments where they put them in trouble and then loaded up on a block. Like, they outblocked them 12-7, and they got a couple massive blocks in key times.
I also think Bulgaria passed well enough to make Moni a huge threat at the net, because he took down a couple balls early. Like, being 6'10", his like armpits are at the net, top of the net, and he threw down a couple dumps. He straight up swung on a couple balls, which completely messed up the Czech defense, because now all of a sudden the blockers didn't know who to pay attention to. You're seeing hitters get one-on-ones. You're seeing people jump with Moni. You're seeing the confusion and everything that he caused just by taking down a couple balls early. It carried over for the rest of the match. And so I think that was a huge factor. And it was because Bulgaria passed well early.
I agree. And the other thing I think that Nikolov does well is even when so he's a threat when they pass tight to the net. And when they pass around the 3-meter line, he runs that middle incredibly well. It's connect point to point, and he can just kind of flick it flat to the middle, and they run. And so even on passes around the attack line, he can still isolate hitters outside because he can run the middle from there. And he did that really well too.
I will give him props. He evolved a lot this summer.
Yeah.
We saw him come off his NCAA season, and I said it a few times during VNL, like, he's looking to make the most difficult set, the most spectacular set, when it wasn't always the smartest. Some of his balls were a little inconsistent, and I think that he really dialed into a clean international style of play as a setter where, feed the hot hand. He has no problem going to his brother until he doesn't score a ball, you know? He became much more smooth with his release, his decision-making, more simplistic, but the execution was better. So I think he evolved a lot over the course of the summer.
Well, let's just say the brother and brother connection is a real thing, because he set Alex 47 times in that match against Czechia. The next closest person was Asparuhov, who got 19 sets.
I mean,
now, in fairness, Alex hit 468, so I probably would have set him that many balls too. He was unstoppable. But it's just fun to watch them connect in that way, and Alex was unconscious. 27 for 47 with only 5 errors. That's wild.
Wild.
If we look at the Czech side, Indra, who had played really well for them up until that point, they controlled him. He wasn't able to score at the same rate against the big outside hitters for Bulgaria as he was in the rest of the tournament. He had 22 swings and only hit 181. Now, I will say, again, and this goes to how good Czech was technically, they run an incredibly balanced offense. Everybody's attacking. They're running the middle. They're running the pipe over top. They spread the offense because they don't have, Indra's good. They've got some really good players, but they don't have a quote-unquote stud. But they played
I think their young middle Klimish did so well.
His serve is unbelievable.
His serve is so good, and he was scoring very efficiently. He hit 778 in that match.
He's got a bright future ahead of him.
He's only 19.
I really liked him as well. I think him and Nikolov are the same age.
I think Moni's not even 18 yet, or not even. He's turning 19 in November or something crazy.
They're probably pretty close.
Anyway,
that was a really tight match with teams really playing to their identity, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one because it wasn't two titans. It's good teams, two different styles, super passionate teams going after it, and a lot of young players, so there was a lot of fire. And we talk about Bulgaria having that kind of strap-it-in defense, but they're also ready and willing to just go after any ball that goes. But at the end of the day, I think they were just a little bit too physical, and they just Czech couldn't stop Alex.
Czech needs to be proud of their performance, though. I mean, I don't think they could have anticipated making the semifinals when this competition started and seeing them play that match. They should be proud of the performance they put out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, our second semifinal was Poland versus Italy.
I wonder what the odds were for Italy to win this 3-0.
Holy moly, they were good.
Oh, man.
Wow. First of all, it's unfortunate that Kurek got hurt.
Yeah.
Going before this match. I think he could have made a difference. And let me tell you, Rich Lambourne was ruthless in his analysis of Sasek. So
Rich is an former American libero who was commentating on the matches. And in fairness, it was deserved because Sasek wasn't any good.
He was relentless on this guy. Also, I do like Rich's commentary, so shout out to him.
Gotta love a libero ripping an opposite, though. It's fantastic.
So, I mean, it is unfortunate that Kurek wasn't playing. Fornal was not playing, but I love Semeniuk.
Oh.
I don't know if I sang his praises enough during VNL, and I watched him a bit during club season last year. I love this guy. Okay, he is so good.
Absolutely. He is a pure volleyball player. I know that's why you like him. His technical skill, his physicality, his decision making. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So there's that. But Italy, wow. I just need to say Italy's serving
won them the tournament.
Fantastic. And I'm going to shout out Sonny. In sets 1 and 3, he came in at the end of those sets and clutch and scored aces, got them out of system. His serving made the difference in sets 1 and 3. And if you are a volleyball player or if you're a club coach or you coach, period, I want that to be a highlight of just how important a role player is. So many people get hung up on who is starting, who's getting the credit, blah, blah, blah. Like, this kid came in as a role player to serve at the end of match and honestly at the end of sets, and I give him credit for those wins because the games were very back and forth, very close, and he pushed Italy over the edge when it mattered most. So your role is important regardless of if you're a starter or coming in. Amazing.
This was maybe one of the most even matches I've seen. We were back and forth all match. You know, somebody would get hot, score a few points, then somebody would rip off a great serve, get a block. The game was how volleyball should be. Both teams have opportunities to win after 20. You've put yourself in a position, you're making adjustments, you're making calls in terms of who you're going to go after, what you're going to try and do. It was a masterpiece of a game. Even though Italy won in 3, just for reference sake, match stats were 34 attack points for Italy, 30 for Poland. Poland had 10 blocks to Italy's 9. Now, we talked about this, 7 aces for Italy to Poland's 3. And most of those came at critical junctures at the end of matches. And I think Sonny had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that's frankly the difference, in my opinion. He won them that game because we're looking at opponent errors. Italy had 25 errors from Poland, but they only made 23, and that includes serving mistakes. So it was just such a close game that came down to spectacular athletes making plays in big moments down the stretch. And that's, as a coach, all you can ever ask for is to have a chance to win at the end of a match. And both teams did, and Italy took the opportunity.
Well, and I think Gerbic put it best. Like in his post-set 2 interview, when he was asked about the match, he said, Italy is playing so well, and if they continue at this pace, good for them. You know, they're going to win. When a team is playing like this, there's not much you can do to stop them. And that was the case. They were so good. And I personally thought Romano played very well.
I thought he played super well. I didn't think there was a massive standout for Poland. Like, they played well, but nobody took over the match. I thought Sasek struggled.
Semeniuk didn't score particularly well.
Yeah, so Semeniuk didn't score well. Sasek didn't score well. I thought Leon played pretty well, but he made a bunch of errors.
But he was a huge liability on serve receive.
Yeah.
Like, we have talked about, why don't teams just serve him every ball? Like, Italy found him.
Yeah, consistently. And the tough part was, I thought the Polish middles played really well when they had an opportunity to be set. And I thought that worked for Poland. But when the passing broke down and the middles were no longer an option, Italy was able to take advantage of those in key moments.
I honestly feel like they just tell Leon to just get the ball in the air when he's passing.
I mean, he's such an offensive weapon for them, because Fornal can score, Semeniuk can score, but they're not bangers. Like, they need Leon on the floor to score points. So you take the good and the bad and you go, this is what you're not great at. Here's the minimum requirement. But
it's like, there's no trajectory to those passes. They are not moving towards the net. They are going high, straight in the air. And we've asked during VNL, like, why don't more teams just serve him every ball? Italy found him. So
effectively.
Yeah.
Leon is a survivor passer. Like, I'm trying not
just
to
don't
get
aced.
We're shooting for a 1.8 to a 2.2 passing average. We'll take it, win. And normally they're good enough outside of that to win, but I mean, Italy scored straight points on him in a couple situations down the stretch. They executed. Do you think this was the gold medal game?
I think it's doing a disservice to Bulgaria and how well they played this tournament. I think Bulgaria was playing well enough to definitely be there. On paper, yes, I would say it was. All right, the bronze medal match, we saw Poland play Czech. Poland won that one in 4.
I was curious after Poland lost which Poland we were going to see. Were we going to see, well, it's not a gold medal,
so who cares?
It is what it is. And I know that that's not the right mentality, but sometimes the letdown of knowing you're good enough to win and that being the goal, it's just hard to get going for that match. But that was not the case. They came out to prove a point, I thought.
Well, in set 1, I would say they kind of cooled off a bit for the other, and like Czech kind of found their footing. But in set 1, it was very decisive.
And I think that set the tone for the rest of the match. Like, Czech found their footing, but Poland, I thought, made it clear out of the gate that we're going to win this match. And there's probably nothing you can do. And Leon was unbelievable in that first set. I think he scored 11 points on his own.
100%.
He was on a mission to make sure that they won a medal. Even with Leon coming out and being unbelievable in the first set, he continued that trend throughout the match. Like, he was a single-man wrecking crew, I thought. He hit 583 on the match, scoring 23 points on 36 swings. They just kept feeding him the ball, and he was very, very effective.
I think Sasek played better.
Sasek definitely played better. I know we love Semeniuk, but he struggled to score in both of these matches. And I found him, and their offense is very quick when they set him, so I had a hard time seeing whether he was struggling to find his swings or whether he was in tough positions. But he threw a couple balls into the block that he was expecting to be recycled that just fell on their side. And so that kind of affected his numbers, but he wasn't an effective scoring threat, I didn't think.
No, he wasn't as good as we have seen in the past. I just think Poland just kept coming. Their blocking was good.
Poland did a good job of taking Czechia out of their state that they like to play in. They're a complete team where they like to distribute their offense. They like everybody to be involved. And I thought they were just a little out of sync in terms of getting everybody involved in the offense in equal measures. If we look at their point distribution, specifically in the semifinal, it was very consistent across the board. And then in this match, it seemed to rely a little more heavier on the outside pins. So Vashina had 18 points, and then Indra only had 11. And then it was Lajcik and Klimish who both had 6. And I think for Czech to be successful, they need everybody close to double digits or a little closer to all of the other players, because that's their strength. They're very good technically, distribute the ball, but they don't have anybody overpowering. And it looked like Poland had a pretty good read on who was going to get the ball, and they were able to make life a little miserable for the Czechia hitters. And even in the middle, when they saw, you could tell it was coming there, the offense wasn't distributed the same way it was in the semi. Other than Leon scoring a ton of points, that was the biggest difference I saw from Czechia.
Again, I said it before, the Czech Republic, and for all intents and purposes, they don't belong there. You know what I mean?
Yes, they had a dream draw, and they took advantage of it. They beat some teams they needed to. I understand what you're saying.
They're a good team, but are they going to beat Poland? No.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like what we saw. It was Poland just steamrolled them.
Yeah. Poland knew how to handle that moment, and their athletes are better across the board. They're better in every position.
But good on Poland Czech for taking a set. Like,
absolutely. I mean, they made a game for it. It's one of those matches where you have a 1 in 100 chance of winning. And again, I'm going to look at this from a coaching perspective. You want to play well. You want to be able to walk off the court at the end of that match and go, you know what, we did the things we wanted to do, and Poland just beat us. And that's what happened.
And finally, our gold medal match saw Italy beat Bulgaria in 4 as well.
This match to me had an older brother, younger brother.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Vibe to it in a couple different places.
Okay, yeah.
So just as a team, Bulgaria are the upstarts.
They're young.
They're young.
Italy's not old by any means.
But they're older. They're in their prime.
They're in their mid-20s instead of early 20s.
Yeah. But they're established. They've won. They have been to the top, and they are standing on the mountain defending their turf. Mm-hmm. The other place where I see this is between Janelli and Moni Nikolov. Moni is the second Janelli.
The second coming.
Right. So Janelli arrived on the scene, bigger than all the other setters, offensive threat.
He's very young.
Yeah, probably could have been a very successful hitter if he wasn't a setter. And Moni is coming in and doing the same thing. So don't kid yourself. Gianelli knows this.
Oh, absolutely.
Just speak to that mindset, because I know you've been in this same situation before in your career. And I want to say specifically on the beach, like you were one of the first, let's call it true bigs out there who was, you're 6'5", you're left-handed. When you started, there was nobody like you playing the sport.
Fair.
And all of a sudden you started to see other athletes with your profile show up. Like, what's going through his mind? What is he thinking in this situation? Does he care, or is he out there to make a point and be like, yeah, you might be good, but you're not there yet?
Yeah, I don't know his personality. If it was me, it's number 2. It's like, okay, yeah. People might compare us. People might say that, like, you might be the next me or the next big thing, whatever. But, like, I'll just show you that you're not quite there yet. And that, like, I am still in control. He didn't do anything overt. He wasn't, looking through the net. He did actually a couple times, but not at Moni. he just let his performance speak for itself in how his hitters were playing. And I think Rich Lamborn, the commentator, put it perfectly. At one point, he set this ball and his hitter just unloaded. And Rich was like, yeah, sometimes as a setter, you just have to look at your hitter and be like, you're welcome. That ball basically hit itself. And that's the story. Just his hitters were in such a good rhythm. And yes, they are good hitters, but they become even better with a setter like him. So not that Moni played poorly, but I was like, Janelli knows that this comparison is coming and he's here to put all the whispers to bed. But you also saw the other side of that with Alex Nikolov, who played against a lot of these guys in the pro season. He is young. He knew he was playing incredibly well. He was feeling himself and was definitely provoking the other side. And who took the bait? Botolo.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake for him.
I think it was a mistake because, yes, you're playing out of your mind. Yes, you are outstanding, but your team's getting beat, and also have some respect. And I'm all for some attitude, some showmanship. Give me the personality. I love that. But he was poking the bear, and you could tell Italy was like, dude.
It happened in the third set. So you're down 2-0, and your team is playing well. You're on the verge of winning the third set, and you're starting to stare down and to
turn to the crowd and do all this stuff.
And I'm okay with that.
But then don't go lose the fourth set 25-10. Because I think that was Italy being okay, here we go.
You could definitely feel the energy on Italy. And again, like you said,
well, you could see the slow-mo. You even saw Anzani, when he would score, get a block, turn, and do the finger wag to his team. You could see Botolo making these gestures back. They didn't do it across the net. Janelli did once when something happened, but they knew it was happening because they were turning back to their team to celebrate and making these gestures.
And by turning, you mean the quarter turn, so the ref can't say you're celebrating through the net, but everybody else can see it.
The little workaround.
Yeah, I thought that was, and I get that he's in the heat of the moment and he's playing well, but just from a strategic standpoint.
You're one guy that's playing really well on a team that's getting beat handily.
Yeah, you can't. You got to keep that for your team. I wonder if he'll learn that lesson because Italy.
He's probably what is he 21 or something?
Yeah,
I don't know. Probably not.
Italy came out and slapped
them
after that
so hard, and I'm pretty sure Bulgaria jumped out to a decent sized lead in set 4, and then it was bye bye. And Botolo alone scored
I think he had 5 aces in a row.
No, Roman Naw had 5 aces in a row in set 3 or something. And then in set 4, Botolo went off. I mean, Italy put on a serving clinic again this match, in addition to operating like a well-oiled machine offensively.
Quite frankly, their serving won them a world championship. The serving was the difference in the Poland match, and they just beat the snot out of the ball from the baseline against Bulgaria. And we talked about passes to the net, Moni's a threat. Passes to the attack line, Moni can still run the middle. That's a threat. They had Bulgaria passing about a meter behind the attack line. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot.
Their block was munching them.
Italy was then prepared to put blocks up, and they outblocked them 10-4.
Not even close.
If Bulgaria would have been able to pass that ball even on the attack line, I think it's a much different result because then they can get their middles in. Bulgaria only had one person scoring points.
Everybody else was getting blocked.
Well, Alex Nikolov scored 21 points and he hit 472. He played
well. No, he was playing well. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying you don't poke the bear when you're fighting the bear 1-on-6.
No, but their next highest scorer, Atanesov, only had 8 points. And again, he hit 385. It's not a bad performance, but they didn't have another person who was able to score. And part of that was on the passing. And I think you saw Moni's inexperience show up a little bit in the decision making. I mean, you got to feed your brother who's the hot hand. I understand that. But you also have to keep your other players engaged. He wasn't going to beat Italy by himself.
He beat everybody else.
Yeah, well, but
No,
they didn't play
he
France.
did,
They
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
play Poland. Like, against those teams, and Bulgaria has other really good players. And we'll see that evolve. They're incredibly young. This was an amazing performance for them, an incredible result. They're going to be a force on the World Tour for a decade with the players that they have. But Italy made sure to say, your time is not yet. And there's no doubt that we are the best. Their outside hitting core for Italy was
Very good.
outstanding.
Romanov had a great tournament. Micheletto had a great tournament. When Bottolo wasn't playing well, Porto came in, did a really good job. They found their middles. Their blocking was solid.
They passed well. They served well. Yeah.
It was fun to watch, really, and to see the celebration at the end. Like, I got goosebumps. I think I teared up. As a kid, you're preached at about serving and passing win you the game. Serving and passing win you the game. It's true in every single level. Serving and passing decide who wins championships, and Italy put on a clinic in the serving department.
Yeah. We talk about the mentality and approach to serving in terms of it's the one skill that you control that no one else can affect you with. And Italy put themselves in a mindset with their toss consistency, with their aggressiveness, with how they were trying to execute. That skill was in their control, and they delivered. And it's funny, we talk about France, and I had France beating them at some point in the tournament. France lost because of their serving. Italy won because of their serving. And it just goes to show you where your head has to be at in that skill and what it can do for you.
Italy cleaning up. Left, right, and center. Men's, women's, every age level, you name it. The 2025 was the year for them.
The president of that federation is having a great year.
Somebody's getting a raise. I don't know who. The coaches, the scouts, somebody is. But huge congrats to Italy repeating as world champions.
Not easy to do.
Wowee. So, yeah, it was a really fun weekend of volleyball. If you haven't watched them, highly recommend you check it out. Check out the USA-Bulgaria quarterfinal. That one was fire. Any of the semifinal medal matches were solid. So, again, congrats to Italy. That was a lot of fun, and international season is concluded, but not until we talk about the Dream Team real quick. Dream Team setter, Ginelli.
Yep.
Opposite, Romano.
Yep.
Who would you have put instead? That was like a deep breath.
Romanov earned that position for sure. I would have been curious. I thought Kurek had played very well up until that point. It would have been interesting to see him finish the tournament, but Romanov deserved it.
Two outsides, Micheletto, who was also MVP of the tournament, and Nikolov, Alex.
I don't think you can disagree.
You couldn't not put Alex Nikolov on the list.
No.
Okay, he cleaned up all tournament. And Micheletto, solid. His team won.
I personally think Nikolov should have been the MVP. In terms of what he meant to his team and how
100%.
he played. His statistical numbers were off the chart.
But you're not going to get it if you're not winning.
I understand that, but I think he was that good.
Okay. I've seen it happen before. Middle blockers, Grozdanov and Koshanovsky.
I thought there were a lot of middles who played really well. I'm not sure how I would make that pick. You had to include some middles from other teams because I think that those other four positions were pretty locked in.
Well, it's like Italy's taking everything, and then they're like, well, Nikolov, you can't deny. And then they're like, okay, now what?
For the most part, I thought we saw the middles from almost all four of those teams actually play really well. I didn't think that they were a hinge. I thought the blocking was incredible. I thought the decision-making when they had opportunities to kill balls across the board, the middles were incredibly effective.
If you're picking the position that Italy was least dominant in, it's probably middle.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they're still really good.
Yeah, I mean, again, I thought the middles could have been pick'ems across all four teams.
Fair. And finally, Libero Balasso from Italy. I like the Polish libero.
Yeah.
I love him.
I think that's where I would have landed as well. I thought the Italian libero played
I mean,
really
he's fine.
well.
You don't notice him.
Exactly.
But that's a good thing.
We always talk about you don't want to notice the libero, but I thought the Polish middle made some spectacular defensive plays across the tournament. The Italian libero did as well, but I probably would have edged.
There's perks to winning, you guys, okay?
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, it's hard to argue against any of the players on those lists. They all played spectacularly.
There we go. International season 2025 in the books. It was so good. Italy, winners. There you go. Okay, listener question time. Here we go. Question 1. Why are there more spin servers in the men's game relative to the women's game? They also seem to utilize the hybrid more. Is there a difference in serving strategy?
We get lots of serving questions.
We do.
Here's a few things to think about. One, quite frankly, spin serves are easier to pass than float serves in general. If you want a spin serve to be effective, you need it to do two things. One, you need it to be incredibly hard so that it's more difficult to control, and you need it to move one way or the other, left to right, right to left, depending on...
Put that wrist behind it,
Right.
you know?
And if you can't do that, give me a spin serve to pass all day.
Oh, I'll pass a spin serve over a float serve all day. Yeah, I agree.
And so...
And women don't put enough on their spin serves.
And that's the thing. Women are fantastic passers in general.
Unless you're Kira Van Rijk.
Right.
Or like Melissa Vargas.
Exactly. So you have a couple women who can put the pace on the ball required to be effective. And otherwise, unless you're hitting the ball that hard, because the net's lower on the women's side and the women are still very tall who play the sport at a high level, that trajectory that you can get on the float serve, you don't need to hit it as hard. The range of effectiveness is less. And so that's why you see more float serves on the women's side than on the men's side. And on the men's side, you have to get teams in trouble from a passing standpoint if they're in system. And the good women's teams are like this as well, but I feel more so in the men's game because it's a little more physical. And the men can hit the ball harder and put that pace on it. So that's the high-level breakdown of why you see more spin serves in the men's game.
Question 2. If you were starting a team from scratch and you could choose one world-class player in just one position, which position would you choose? Okay, let's count to 3 and say the position we would choose at the same time.
Okay, I have a caveat. Are we talking, are the other players rec level players or are we baseline competent?
I would say, we're not going to say like they've never played volleyball before.
Okay.
It's going to be like a decent level.
Okay.
But you have one player
Okay.
that is like elite, world class. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, setter. 100%. You saw the difference. We talked about USA. You saw the difference that Micah Christensen made for almost the same lineup from VNL to Worlds. I think they were way better, personally.
Totally.
I've said this so many times. A great setter can take a mediocre team and make them incredible. A bad setter can take an incredible team and make them rough. Like, setters are difference makers.
Well, and they touch the ball more than any other player on the court.
Yes.
So you want your skilled players touching the ball the most. They
That's
can make
why
good decisions. Yeah.
Whenever we're doing like fantasy or like drafts or stuff for fun, we always pick setters first.
Absolutely.
Like, unless you have just this unless the setters are all generally the same skill level, then sure, it's fine. But no, always prioritize the setter.
I think the more interesting question is, what position would you prioritize as your second pick?
Left side, you have every skill. If you have a world-class left side, you have every skill set covered.
I would have picked the same thing.
Look at that. I like that question a lot. Question 3, when do you know it's finally time to hang it up? When do you know you've suffered one last injury and say to yourself, I'm going to recovery, I'll be able to work out and be fully normal again. However, I don't want to work toward playing the highest level of volleyball possible. Been there.
I can't answer that question because I've never been there. Mine was,
Been there.
You're not good enough to play at the next level. That was the decision.
I wouldn't say that injury forced my retirement. I was going to retire when I did anyway. But Yeah, when is it time to hang it up? There are some people who just never, they don't get it and
Yep.
they just never reach it. And like you see them continue to try to push and you almost feel bad for them. You know what I mean? And then there's some people who just like know when it's time to go.
Well, I think you have two different types of athletes. You have athletes who play sport to be the best. And when they are no longer capable of being the best, they're not interested anymore and they retire. And then you have those athletes who just, they love the lifestyle, they love to play, they love everything around the sport, including competing. But competing is not necessarily the end all and be all, if you know what I mean. And I think you see those athletes hang around. Hey, I'm going to show up and I'm going to mentor the next generation. I think you see those two extremes in general in athletes, or at least that's been my experience in coaching different athletes.
Speaking on a personal level, I will say I probably fall into the pursuit of excellence side of that. Not probably, I did. So for me, the pool of athletes in my country that I had to choose from became smaller and smaller.
For beach.
For beach. It just like when you're not capable of getting there. I felt good about my own performance, like knee surgery and all that aside. Like I was still playing at a high level prior to that. And it's just like, what am I doing here? Like if I'm not pushing to like legit be the best in the world, like what am I even doing here? Like why am I traveling for weeks and months? Why would I spend my time and energy doing this and getting older? That's the other thing, is you're getting older and athletes are getting younger, and it's just, yeah, it was a reality check. And then it was just kind of like looking at myself and being like, I don't have anything to prove to myself or anybody else anymore. I've done everything. I feel good, but it's hard. It's hard to walk away from something that has been so a part of your life for so long, and it's scary. And yeah, this is a very hard question, but I think it's like knowing yourself, knowing who you are and what your life priorities are, really. Question 4. Do you think the trade-offs in the college game's evolution, going from developing 6 rotation players during the golden era of 2005 to 10 to building better and more balanced teams in the current era, do you think those trade-offs are worth it for the overall trajectory of the game in the U.S.? So fewer 6 rotation players definitely hurts the national team, but more balanced teams increases the participation of girls in the sport and could lead to discovering untapped talent. There are trade-offs for sure. This is a very interesting question.
I think the more kids who are playing sport, the better. I think sport is great for everyone to participate. And I love that young kids can come in and play a sport if they're short, contribute to their team like we talked about, either defensively or from the service line. And I love that these rules allow the sport to be more inclusive and accessible for both kids of young ages, but both at the collegiate level. You don't have a ton of athletes from the overall participating pool who go play pro or who play on the national team. However, I think as a coach, especially at the collegiate level, but also at the club level, if you have a kid who has aspirations and the skill set to be that good, it should be your responsibility to give that kid the opportunity to make those dreams come true. And you have to be realistic about it. You know, you can be 5'8" and say, I want to play on the national team as a left side. It's probably not going to happen. Like, I understand that there's trade-offs between winning in your program, but that you can't tell me you can't give those kids passing reps in practice, or you can't help them get there. So I love the rule from a participation standpoint. I don't think it has to be as debilitating for 6 rotation players as it currently is. If coaches, and I don't want to say they don't do this, and I understand you have to win, but I think it could be done better.
That's pretty much exactly the answer I was going to give. I was like, the percentage of athletes who are going to go on to play national team or pro is very, very small. So you want kids to have a place to play. You want to keep kids in sport, particularly girls. You want to keep girls involved in sport as long as possible. A lot of girls find a social aspect to sport. So I think the way the game is now at the club level is so good for the average volleyball player who doesn't, like you said, have aspirations to be on the national team. But you cannot just have a cookie cutter. You need to look at kids on an individual basis. I think kids need to be coached based on the individuals they are from like a feedback perspective. But I think if a kid has a goal to make it, you need to try to like give them every opportunity to do that. So I think it's kind of, a nuanced question or answer.
Because let's be honest, if you realistically have professional or national team aspirations, you're playing for a very good program collegiately.
Yeah.
You can't tell
Usually.
me. Yeah. You can't tell me that you're not going to have games against throwaway schools where your coach could go, okay, you'll play 6 rotations in this match.
But you
could
should
find those opportunities for those players.
If there's a player that has that potential, they should be given the opportunity to train all those skills and use them anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, last one. When do you think is a good moment to switch out your star players if they aren't performing well? So the examples they gave were Ishikawa in the Japan-Canada match at Worlds. He was kept in way longer than he should have been. Engapeth, keeping them in. So basically what it's asking is it normal to wait it out longer when it's a star player because you trust them to figure it out? This is a coach question, so I'll pass the floor to Adam.
There's a couple considerations here. One is, who do you have replacing him and coming in off the bench? So you need to know what the skill level of that person is. Ideally, you've seen this athlete in these situations before, so you have an idea of how long it's going to take them to come out. Like it's individual based on those athletes. And then it's a gut feeling in terms of, Engapeth was coming back from injury. Ishikawa was not. He just wasn't very good. So, and quite frankly, so in my opinion, that one was too late because the replacement for Ishikawa came in and played really well. It's a feel thing for coaches in terms of how you do that. Now, what I haven't addressed here is there political blowback? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is Engapeth is your program's guy, right? Do you have the blessing of the federation to pull him and bench him? Those players can go over your head. I'm not saying Engapeth would do this, but I'm saying that's a reality that affects decisions. It's much easier to get rid of a coach than it is to lose your star players. There's a whole bunch of factors that go into this, and they're never easy decisions to make.
Oh, I liked these ones this week. These were good ones.
They were very good questions.
Keep them coming. I mean, I'm the one who picks them, so pat on the back to me for picking them. But honestly, these questions, thank you for sending these in. They were really, really fun to answer and think about.
All right. Worlds is over. The Italians are the champs. And our focus is now going to switch to NCAA. And I hope for any of you guys who are mostly international volleyball fans, you should watch some of the college volleyball. It's very entertaining. I know pro seasons are starting soon, but if you need a fix, there are very good matches out there to watch. And the collegiate scene in the U.S. is very entertaining. So this week, here are the matches that we'll be watching. Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Kansas versus TCU. Looking to right the ship in that match. Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Nebraska, Penn State.
Probably won't be great, but I put it down.
It technically should be good, and Penn State needs to right the ship as well. So we'll see what product they put on the floor. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, Utah versus Arizona State. Utah needs to show up in this match. Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Purdue versus USC. This I'm interested. USC, I don't think they've played a ton of good teams so far.
They're doing pretty well.
But they're doing well, so I'm very curious to see them in Big Ten play now against better opponents. I'm curious to get a real good feel of how they look as a team. And then finally, Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, Louisville, Stanford. The battle of the 1Bs. I'm curious.
I think Stanford is a 1A, but whatever. Agree to disagree.
Well, they're young. I think they have the potential to be there, but I need to see a little bit more from them in terms of can they do it consistently and can they compete with those top teams. So this is a measuring stick match for me for Stanford.
That concludes this week's episode of Volley Talk. There's always something shaking in the volleyball world, and we hope you enjoyed this little fix. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any updates, and we'd be so grateful if you'd leave us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Instagram at volleytalk_podcast. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, be sure to reach out to us on Instagram or at info@sarahpavin.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week.